So Damian Lillard was insane, and the Blazers still lost, which is kind of funny. But at the same time, it does speak to something that I will talk about throughout this video. But yeah, if you didn't know, Damian Lillard had 55 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists to 1 turnover, shot 70.8% from the field, 70.6% from 3, 90% from the line, had a 96.82 shooting percentage, and set the record, or should I say broke the record, for most 3-pointers in a playoff game with 12, and the Blazers still lost. Now here's the thing. Damian Lillard, despite, them losing, was not the reason they lost this game. The reason they lost this game was the fact that other guys around him just weren't great. Robert Covington was pretty good, actually, I would say. He was solid. Nurkic fouled out early, but when he played, he was okay. Norman Powell wasn't really good, I'll be honest with you. And CJ McCollum wasn't good either. Carmelo Anthony wasn't good. Basically, outside of Robert Covington, anyone that played like significant minutes in this game wasn't good. Outside of course, Damian Lillard, who played at an all-time great level. On the Nuggets side, you had Nikola Jokic putting up 38, 11, and 9, having another great playoff series. The efficiency wasn't great, but, if you watched the game, you knew that he was really good. Michael Porter Jr. was also really good. He had 26 points on a 90.82 shooting percentage. Austin Rivers looked pretty good. Aaron Gordon looked solid. Monte Morris, who probably will be starting the next game because, he was just better than Campazzo this game, because Campazzo only played in 21 minutes, even though he was a starter, but Monte Morris played in 41 minutes off the bench, so it wouldn't shock me if Monte Morris played as the starter next game. And, obviously Jokic and Lillard more specifically, were the big stars of this game. And when you think about it, it's just insane to think about what Damian Lillard did last night, because not only from a stat standpoint, from just from watching him play, especially some of those threes he was taking late in the game, that just didn't seem like they should have gone in, but they did. And when it comes to Jokic, he was again just doing Jokic things. It was the most entertaining game of the night, and Nuggets versus Blazers is always fun. Even though this is, again, really the only second time we've seen these two face off in the playoffs. But both, between last time and this time, these two have like an argument for being like the most entertaining series like of the bunch. And when it comes to Lillard, he has gotten a bit of a bad reputation as a bad playoff performer at times, where he has his moments. The OKC shot, the shot against Houston. I can't believe I forgot about that as well. He's two of I want to say 6 of the all-time series clinching buzzer beaters. And but outside of that, there are a lot of lowlights on his playoff resume. What happened with New Orleans, where they got swept as the 3 seed, and he got locked up by Jrue Holiday. Blowing 4 straight double-digit leads when he got swept by Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. Things like that. And this series, Damian Lillard has been incredible, and this is the best version of Damian Lillard I've seen in the playoffs. This game specifically, this is his best playoff game, and that's including Game 5 against OKC in 2019. And it wasn't, again, just about him. He wasn't just creating offense for himself. He was creating offense for others. He had 10 assists in this game, which is really good, which means at the least, mind you, he is responsible for 75 points scored. And that's at the least, because I'm not going to go and look and see how many of the points that he assisted on were 3s or 2s. But think at the least 75 points he was responsible for it. Probably more, because I'm willing to bet you that some of them were threes, just based off the amount of 3-pointers that the Blazers took and made. So it wouldn't shock me. And when you look at the rest of the team, it's like, really, Lillard was the reason they were still in this game. I think it's quite obvious. And it's an all-time great playoff performance, even if they did lose. Because, again, Lillard breaking 3-point record, doing those things, it's just all-time great stuff. And again, like, you can say, oh, but they lost. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that it's an all-time great performance, because of the fact that, you know, some of the best playoff moments, you know, came in losses. You know, you look at, you know, specifically Michael Jordan's 63 points against the Boston Celtics. He lost that game. You know, so it's possible to accomplish great things in losses. So Lillard, I don't think that the loss should take away from what Rudy did, because he wasn't the reason they lost. If anything, CJ McCollum was the reason they lost this game. He was not good at all. Obviously, at the end of the game, he stepped out of bounds. It wasn't even like the throw from Lillard to McCollum was bad. Like, he just had a mental lapse or something. And, you know, 7 for 22 is not good. 2 for 8 from 3 was not good. But the thing that caught my attention the most was the fact that he was the only player in the starting lineup who had a negative plus minus at -7. The next closest was Robert Covington, who had a 0 plus minus. He was the only player that played at least 20 minutes on the Blazers that have a negative plus minus. And the only other players that have a negative plus minus were Anthony Simons, who played 15 minutes, Enes Kanter, who played 14 minutes, and Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who played in 8 minutes. And everyone else, from Carmelo Anthony, Yusuf Nurkic, Robert Covington, Norman Powell, and of course Damian Lillard, had either a net neutral or a positive plus minus. So, you know, I'm not saying it's completely on CJ McCollum, but it is kind of fishy that he was the only player that really saw big minutes to have a negative plus minus on the team. And he played the second most minutes in that game. So that's something that I found kind of interesting. What does that mean for the series? You know, they are going back to Portland for Game 6. And it should be fun. Should see how the Blazers respond. You know, wins and losses like that can be demoralizing. You know, for the losing team. Because of the fact that, you know, you fought and you got to 2 overtimes and you still lost. And despite winning, you know, not winning, obviously, but like getting the game to OT and getting to double OT, you still came up short. And that could be demoralizing. I'm pretty sure that, you know, it's very similar to what happened last time between these teams, where they go back for Game 6, and then Game 7, if it happens, obviously, will be in Denver again, kind of setting up the same thing that we had last time, hopefully. You know, I would say this has been the most entertaining of the playoff series so far, because Knicks vs. Hawks was fun until the Hawks went up 3-1, and really just the Knicks just really didn't respond well in Atlanta. Lakers vs. Suns, even though like it's going to be at least a 6-game series, Chris Paul injury, Anthony Davis injury hasn't been the most entertaining thing in the world, I'll be quite honest with you. You know, the Nets vs. Celtics was not a fun series. We all knew that what was going to happen. I guess you could say, okay, Tatum was playing well. That was fun to see, but at the same time, it wasn't a great playoff series there. Obviously, Wizards vs. Sixers isn't the most entertaining series in the world, I would say. You look at, you know, just a bunch of them. Like Utah vs. Memphis was fun for a game. And those games were close. but you can kind of tell who's the more experienced team in that regard. But this is a fun series because I know it's a 3 vs 6 series, but at the same time, you know, it's a lot closer. These teams are a lot closer than you would think as a 3 vs 6 matchup. And you have Nikola Jokic, who's averaging, 32, 11, and 4. You have Damian Lillard, who's averaging almost 36 and 10 in this series. And you just have great performances between these guys. And it's always going to be fun. And I hope this is something that they continue for a little while, as long as Dame's in his prime and Jokic is in his prime. Because it was fun the first time, it was fun this time. And I'm wondering about you, if they do it, if they have another series, that's going to be fun as well. And, it's been a fun series. I think that it hasn't quite been like MVP defining for Jokic, even though he's been awesome. Like, this is like a really good series, but it isn't like quite the jaw-dropping series that you would expect from him. I think he's going to have that in the next round if they make it past the first round. But he's been incredible regardless. And I know I probably shouldn't have said that, because that makes it sound like I'm not saying he's great, because he's been great. But you maybe would expect the systems would be a bit higher. And with Lillard, he has been awesome as well. And, CJ wasn't good in this game, but overall for the series, he's been pretty solid. Norman Powell wasn't great in that game, but he's been pretty good in the series overall. Robert Covington has been solid. Melo, it's been okay. Yusuf Nurkic needs to stop fouling out. I think he would have been the difference in the game, I'll be quite honest with you, if he doesn't foul out and they had to basically put Robert Covington on Jokic, because he's the best option, because it's not Enes Kanter. I would not put Enes Kanter on Jokic at all. That's an X factor in the series, because again, Jokic was averaging only 28 minutes per game in the series, and it's because he's fouled out so many times, and he probably averages like 6 or 7 fouls per 36 minutes, so he has to work on that. But overall, it's been the fun series. It's been the most fun series for me, and this game was the most fun game in the playoffs so far, like by a mile. This was the most fun game, with Lillard doing what he does best, with Jokic doing what he does best, and I'm excited for Game 6, because that's going to be a fun game. I know Denver's going to try to close him out. Portland's fighting to stay alive in the playoffs, and I'm low-key kind of rooting for Portland in that game, because I want this to be a 7-game series. This is a series that deserves to go 7 games. It's one of those, and I'm excited. But again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Again, I don't usually do videos like this, but these podcast style videos usually, I would say. But with the playoffs, I want to get some quick content out, as well as my normal content, to give you guys more content. So if my normal content, which is like highly edited film essay style stuff, and these kind of podcast style videos, if both of these things interest you, or one of those things interests you, subscribe to the channel. If you guys enjoy stuff like this, I'll do more of it. But yeah, have a nice day.